So this is the guide. This is episode 9 of Legend of Korra. And I just found out, I just looked at the release schedule, and I found out that so apparently over the next 3 weeks they're going to release the remaining 5 episodes. So that's cool. I'm excited about that. But this is the guide. Good episode. One big problem, then I'll get back to that. So the first part of this episode deals with Korra going, she finds, I forget which air temple they're at, but she goes to the air temple where Tenzin and the others are. She tells them everything. She leaves out the part about sticking a judge's head inside Naga's mouth, and she also leaves out the part about trying to foment an illegal rebellion. Of course. But we do get a nice moment where she apologizes to Tenzin, and they reiterate, they're not just teacher and student, they're also friends, and they're partners in this. So that's good. It's nice to see Korra acting like a grown-up for once. Anyway, so it turns out that Tenzin tries to get them into the spirit world, but he fails. He can't do it. But apparently Jinora can. And this leads to an interesting character moment with Tenzin, where he goes on about how Aang really wanted him to be the spiritual guide for the next Avatar. Aang wanted him to have a connection to the spirit world. But he can't. He's just, at the end of the day, it's just not what he's meant to do. And there's a moment where he has to come to terms with that, and I think it's a good moment. Maybe could have gone into it a little bit more, but he just has a moment where he's like, I guess what I've expected would happen my whole life is not going to happen. Darn it. But it's a good character moment for him, and it's a chance. I like that we're letting one of his kids shine. It turns out that she's been able to see spirits ever since Korra opened the door in the South Pole. And the first spirits she sees are like these, I forget what they call them, they're like these bunnies with their ears or wings. So up until the moment where everyone can see those spirits, it's kind of fun to watch this episode and imagine that Jinora isn't actually spiritual. She's just high as a kite this whole time. Because it looks like something you'd see after dropping acid. My mind goes to weird places. Anyway, so they decide that Jinora's the one who has to lead Korra through the spirit world. That part of the episode ends with them going into the spirit world, which it's a lot different from the spirit world in The Last Airbender. The spirit world in The Last Airbender had a distinct brown color. Everything was like various shades of brown. Also, bending did not work in the spirit world. It apparently can here. I don't know if there's a reason for that. But on the other hand, those are minor nitpicks. I'd like it if they got explained. I wouldn't be really upset if they didn't, but they're minor holes in the mythology of this world. So we'll see if they go into that. On the other hand, this means we're finally going to get to see the owl spirit. The owl spirit from the trailer. We haven't gotten that bit yet. I cannot wait for him to come back, and I freaking want Ko. That I would be really disappointed if Ko does not somehow come back into this. So that part of the episode was all solid. What else happens? We get a bit with Unalaq. Okay, so we find out that Unalaq is directly working for the Dark Spirit. He is directly trying to free the Dark Spirit. We don't know why yet. We don't know how they met. But we do know that it's not like Unalaq is just being bewitched or anything. He's consciously working for the Dark Spirit. So that's been confirmed. We get we get a bit of information about, what kind of father he is. And he's just horrible to his kids in this. He tries opening the portal, one of them gets hurt. He's like, just leave him, it doesn't matter. He doesn't matter at all. He's a terrible father. Great line, too. Just do this douchebag line where his kids apologize for not capturing Korra. And he's like, no, it's not your fault. It's my fault for thinking you could do anything. And you're just like, Jesus, what a jerkhole. Anyway, so that part's good. It's interesting, but it's brief. The rest of the episode is back with Mako and Bolin and Asami in Republic City, and it's just getting so boring. And here's where this was the worst part of the episode for me. And this is where I started to. This was okay. So what happens is Mako is still investigating Varric. There's a great scene where Varric sort of confronts him, and he does this great. Varric does this. I love how they're writing Varric. So he has not tipped his hand yet, but he has a way of speaking that's both. He's still like the crazy, eccentric Varric, but you can tell there's like a double meaning to his words, even though they're still masking it behind the silly persona. Like it's thus far he's been very well written. Even as their way of introducing him as a villain has been very, very well written. He pulls out his inner Gomez at one point, walks across a bed of coals. So we have that going on. Nothing is happening with Bolin. There's been no development. He's still on the set. He's still living the life of a movie star, and that's not going anywhere. We're not getting any development with him. Nothing. We hear he says halfway through the episode, "Oh yeah, I'm not living with my brother anymore." When did that happen? Not happy about that. As I said before, Bolin was one of my favorite characters in the show, but he and Asami both have really been shunted to the side in this, and that bothers me. It's not killing it for me, but it's still like I wish these guys had more to do. And again, I think that's the episode limit that they were given from Nickelodeon. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. But, so nothing happens with Bolin. Okay, so here's the bit that really got to me. That part of the episode ends with, Mako, is still convinced that it's Varric and that he's right. No one else believes him. Asami goes to comfort him. They start to kiss. They're still pushing them back together, and that's still bothering me, but I'll let that go for now. Lin Beifong shows up with her two head detectives, and they find, and big surprise, someone's planted evidence in Mako's apartment that implicates him in some of the crimes, and he gets arrested. Here's the problem with this scene. In Last Airbender and in Korra, there have been a number of times where they've done, for a particular episode or seasonal arc, they've taken a certain aspect of another movie or story or genre and they've played with it. And that's fine, because they've almost always had something interesting or something unique about it. This scene is the first time that I think that has not happened. The entire scene, everything that happens, the down on his luck, no one believes him, even though he's on the truth, cop, is, feeling frustrated. His partner / friend / love interest goes to comfort him, but then the police shows up and, there's evidence implicating him, and he denies it, of course, and now the friend / love interest / whatever is uncertain if she or he can trust him, and the main guy gets arrested by the cops who are either incompetent or corrupt. That whole scenario, of course, that's been done a million times before in books, movies, TV shows, plays. It's so incredibly it's shockingly standard. It's astonishing how by the numbers that scene is. But what's even more astonishing is this: even if you have writing that's just bland, if you have good actors or good voice actors in this case, you can still sell it. This is the only time where, as a rule, the voice acting in Last Airbender and in Korra has been phenomenal. You're not hearing people reading lines, you're hearing the characters. Pretty much across the board, the voice acting in this franchise has been fantastic. But in that scene, for the first time, I really got the impression, and this didn't come to me right away, but the scene bugged me, and I had to think about it for a while, and then I realized, for the first time ever, I watched a scene in an Avatar show, and I did not feel like I was hearing the characters. I felt like I was hearing actors just do a line through. Because there was not only is the scene itself completely rote and completely cliched, but the characters sound like they know it. Like the police walks in, "Hey, Mako. Oh, here's some evidence." And Mako's like, "What?" He turns into Mark Wahlberg for a second. He's like, "What? No, no, that's not mine. I'm innocent. It's Varric. No. And Lin Beifong's like, why do you have this evidence? Arrest him. And Asami's like, oh no, I feel doubt. Oh my. It's not bad voice acting, but there's no, like, whenever you have a scene like that, the person who's being implicated, who's being falsely accused, they get angry or they get defensive, and even if they don't try to fight back, like, they'll still wrestle with the cops, or they'll to their friend, they'll be very forceful, like, no, it's not me. But Mako's just like, no, it's not me. I'm innocent, as they're leading him away. It's Varric. It's Varric. And I didn't buy a word of it. That whole scene, I couldn't buy a word of it. And I think it's so emblematic of the when I really think about it, most of the issues I'm having with this season are centered around everything that's happened in Republic City. The stuff in the South Pole was fine. It was really good. The stuff with Tenzin and his family has been some of the best stuff in the series. Juan's backstory, phenomenal. It's all of the stuff that's gone on in Republic City that has been so up and down. There's been some interesting parts, there's been some funny parts, but a lot of it has just felt so very uninspired in a way. And that's not... It doesn't make the episode bad, it's not killing the season, but it is a big disappointment given how good these guys are at, even when they use convention, they'll make it their own in some way, which is what you should do. When you use convention, when you use standard storytelling formulas, you should at least have some new aspect to it that you can just sort of, flavor it with, even if you don't do anything else. And it's been in this season that they've really not pulled that off in a number of spots, and it really hit me during that scene, where not only did the writing fall flat for me, but the voice acting fell flat as well. And it's frustrating because, like, okay, we know Mako's innocent. We know there's going to be some sort of breakout. Lin Beifong is going to come to her senses somehow. It's very slowly bothering me how stupid they're making Lin Beifong in this, especially given how great and interesting a character she was in the first season. So a good episode. Of course, it pales in comparison to Beginnings, but nothing in Korra can compare to Beginnings. But of course, they had to keep going somehow. So this is fine as a follow-up episode. I like that they're finally in the spirit world. I hope that I hope that leads to some really interesting stuff with Korra and Jinora. That should be really good. I hope we get at least a little bit more with Tenzin and his family. And I don't know what I hope for the thing in Republic City with Mako and Asami and Bolin. Thus far, it just looks like Varric is just a simple war profiteer. He's just trying to incite a war so that he can make a crap ton of money. There's no indication that there's anything deeper than that. Like, he's connected with Unalaq in terms of, like, wanting to free the Dark Spirit or anything like that. We'll see where it goes. But the stuff with Republic City, with Varric and Mako and Asami and Bolin, that's the least interesting part of the season for me right now. And I just hope they can carry that story through to its end as painlessly as possible. And hopefully without any more nonsense involving a Korra, Mako, Asami love triangle. Because if they were to do that again, I wouldn't be done. But yeah, that would be bad. Yes, so good episode. Not a great episode, but a good episode. And I am still excited about the rest of the season. So we'll see how it goes. Until next week.